Bowers Intelligent Transportation moves over 6,000 people to and from work every day in luxury and style. Bowers state-of-the-art luxury coaches are fully equipped with leatherette seating, Wi-Fi, DirecTV, Corian tables, power outlets for your phone or laptop, and even a bathroom. Each Bowers coach removes as many as 52 cars and 2 million pounds of carbon monoxide per year. Commute to and from work for as low as $13 a day. Call Bowers Intelligent Transportation today at 800-546-6688 or online at bowersit.com.
Welcome back to the Will and Willie pre-election special. I'm Paul Wells with Willie Brown and Will Durst, and our guest right now is the former executive director of the California State Democratic Party and a political analyst, head of the PR and public affairs firm Solem and Associates, and facilitator of the Will and Willie show. I'd like to welcome Don Solem.
More importantly, a late George Moscone. This is where he comes from, really.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm. You said political analyst. I thought you were going to say political animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's sometimes pretty close, exactly. Isn't it? Animal and analyst are under A in the dictionary.
Have you been getting any of this?
No, I don't live in the city, so our mailbox is clean. But in the past, I produced many of those things, not for independent expenditures.
I can remember on some occasions when you wanted to really mess up a candidate, when you send out his mail, you send it to Marin.
By the truckload. By the truckload. Right from the printer over to another district.
Have you been
the wrong zip code.
Exactly.
Have you been noticing differences in the way the campaigns are being run this cycle?
Well, one that was discussed earlier is technology, the app and the ID and all of that being electronic and information on call. In some cases, that's applicable, in others, it's not. It is very applicable, and what Mayor Brown was talking about earlier, absentee voting, to help peg down people apply for absentee, but have they turned it in? Have they filled it out? Have they returned it? It only counts when you return it. And we used to have one campaign we ran, we had 27 discrete steps between the asking for an absentee and turning it in, and we were trying to impact people all along that chain of movement of the ballot.
Just keep the ballot moving
Just keep
forward.
going. I know we've called you before, but it's really important that you do that.
One of the most necessary things on the absentee ballot side is to monitor from the time the absentee ballot
gets in the
hands
hands
until it is returned. Mm-hmm. And you want to mark that off, because believe me, you'll have a bad misunderstanding with your results if you don't mark it and match the absentee ballot. You also obviously run the risk of somebody accusing you of trying to extraordinarily influence people who are filling out the absentee ballot, etc. In San Francisco, this time around, there's been precincts that have now been consolidated, and in some cases, there's no longer a vote in place. There's no longer a poll in place. You don't have to seek an absentee ballot. You get it naturally. That's the only way you can vote this time around.
That's right.
Well, also, the city made a mistake and sent out the wrong polling place to literally half of the voter pamphlets.
Right.
You were told to go to a fire station
and then I was
the
sent a
Excelsior
correction.
District or something.
Yeah. Plus, I have a ballot that I can turn in till 8 p.m. on Election Day.
So you can go either way.
I can go either way. I can go to the polling place,
Which
or I can.
be
You can
said by
cancel
a lot
out
of
your
people.
absentee
Make sure
ballot by going to vote, in effect, if you haven't turned it in.
Well, let's touch the propositions a little bit. I mean, for one thing, we have C and D. We have opposing pension reform ballots.
Yeah, we got this one. What separates C from D? Mm-hmm. And then you open it up, and C is happy and colorful, and D is dark and foreboding, and it's the Tea Party Wisconsin way. So you want the happy San Francisco way. This was by Reform, paid for by San Franciscans United for Pension and Health Reform. Yes on C, no on D, a coalition of public employees, taxpayers, and business groups with major funding by San Francisco police officers and Warren Hellman, firefighters local. Well, you got Warren Hellman on your side, and
Yeah.
That'll pay for the mailer right there.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
So it's the Yes on Prop C campaign. Underneath all of that description Will just did. So it's one side battling the other. C and D is a big issue. It affects millions and millions of dollars. There are distinct differences between them. Some claim one does a little more of this short term, the other that it does more of this overall, and so on. So,
but when you read the voter pamphlet and the little description that's going to be, for people who don't read the pamphlet and go into the booth to vote, they're exactly alike. They say the same thing. Going to cut costs. Going to demand more pension from the people. Contributions and future pensions will be cut. Both of them are exactly the same.
Which means, Mr. Solem, at the end of the count, they may very well be the first subject matter of a judicial challenge.
Yeah,
because if each of them wins, then you've got to try to determine which one will go into effect.
Yeah, right. Parts of one versus parts of another, and sometimes judges have held you can't stitch it together. In effect, you got to pick one or the other. So that could go a meld of the two, as Mayor Brown is suggesting, or it could be a judge says you can't really do that because there's too much internal contradiction between picking one section that is in a measure and it's silent in the other measure, so this ought to govern. You can't stitch it together. You got to pick one package or another.
Yeah, because here, this is A and B. Yeah. This is C and D.
Holy moly.
Yeah. So it's begging for legal challenges because the languaging is so thick and the legal arguments, legal text of both propositions C and D. Now, who's behind C? Who's behind D?
Well, this started with, from a ballot history, it started with Jeff Adachi coming almost out of nowhere to suggest pension problems in San Francisco were like pension problems elsewhere with the public sector. We're in a recession. We've got to do something now.
That was 2008.
And he came darn close last time.
2010.
So out of
2010.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And then that woke up labor and other people, woke up Warren Hellman. They got together, came up with supervisors, came up with a so-called compromise. The trouble with compromises is everybody has to give a little, so you have a less pure product than what Adachi had in the first place. So Adachi brings that back this time, and you have the dueling propositions.
So Adachi is D, and
Ed Lee
is C.
Ed Lee is C.
And Hellman. And Hellman was originally on D, and then he defected to C.
He pieced off, that's right.
So that's everybody else in the world's yes on C too.
Yeah.
Not just Lee.
Nancy, Jackie, Tim Paulson,
All of the city establishment is yes on C now. Now, you can argue if you're going to control public costs, you don't want the establishment doing it. They brought you all these problems. So Prop D, in that sense, is a breath of fresh air contrasted to the establishment telling you, we're all for this compromise. So we'll see what the public, this is a great example of, it's very hard to predict from, it's very hard to poll on for all the reasons of complexity that Paul alluded to. So polling frequently doesn't give you an overall good sense of what these propositions are going to do at the ballot. So we'll see what the public has to say.
In this race, there's no ranked choice voting.
No, it's
That's right.
yes, no, maybe.
No. Well, one interesting aspect of ranked choice voting in my mind is that notwithstanding all the mail you've talked about on the table from independent so-called hands-off the candidate's interests, is that the public debate has been more civil than normal, simply because
nobody wants to tick anybody
Well, it's
off.
a big field. You don't want to look like the evil guy, being hard-edged and negative and so on. So the public debate and these gatherings that have taken place all over the city are pretty civil affairs. They're not the head-on-head contest with two or three.
And
very dull.
D for dull or C for civil. Either way.
That's right. Those may be the elements that go together.
Don Solem, thank you for being a guest, and thank you for originally putting us together, Willie Brown and Will Durst and myself, Paul Wells, to put together the radio show, and now radio and TV and internet at the same time.
Any prediction on C and D?
I think C will win. Yeah. That's my sense.
You mean think C will have more votes than D?
Yeah.
D may win also.
Yes, yeah, that's correct. And then you're into what we talked about.
Correct.
That's right. Well, pleasure to
Thanks for being down.
Nice to
coming down.
Nice to see you folks.
See you soon.
Solem, as always.
Right.
Okay.
Bowers Intelligent Transportation moves over 6,000 people to and from work every day in luxury and style. Our state-of-the-art luxury coaches are fully equipped with leatherette seating, Wi-Fi, DirecTV, Corian tables, power outlets for your phone or laptop, and even a bathroom. Each Bowers coach removes as many as 52 cars and 2 million pounds of carbon monoxide per year. Commute to and from work for as low as $13 a day. Call Bowers Intelligent Transportation today at 800-546-6688 or online at bowersit.com.